Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author and arranger of solo standards for piano, of playing solo jazz piano, and of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series, all available on jeremysiskind.com. That's jeremysiskind.com. And today I want to talk with you about something that maybe regretfully, I don't think it's anywhere in any of my books. I wrote like 1,000 pages of different books about jazz piano, and I think I left this out. What a dummy I am. Or maybe I just forgot because I'm getting old and senile. But when you are comping with two hands, one of the things that I do a ton and that I hear professionals better than me doing a ton is ornamenting your comping. So let's take a look at how that works. And maybe I'll demonstrate first that you can hear what I mean. Without ornamenting, I'm just going to be playing single chords. Sounds lovely. Nothing wrong with that. But if we want to make it more colorful, there's basically two main things we can add. We might talk about a couple other bells and whistles too. The first one is grace notes. So I'm not adding in any other chords. I'm not changing notes at all. I'm just adding grace notes. I'll show you a couple of different ways to do that, as well as kind of technically what's going on. The other one is what I refer to as ghost notes. How is that the greatest name? Debatable. Why am I doing this with my arms? It'll make a good YouTube thumbnail, I suppose. But here's adding in ghost notes as well. These devices make our comping seem more three-dimensional. They make it really pop out at you without having to change chords, know any more theory, build bigger voicings, anything like that. So let's take a detailed look at how some of these things can work. So we're going to start with grace notes. And I've written out some basic 2-5-1 voicings. If these are totally unfamiliar to you, then just stop what you're doing and buy Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 1 and learn about these voicings. These are kind of standard, stock, or we call them type A, B voicings. First thing that I want to point out is that when we're talking about doing this kind of ornamentation, I'm mainly talking about doing this when we're doing two-handed comping. So if I'm playing the melody and comping behind myself, I'm probably not going to be doing this kind of ornamentation. For one, I just don't have the fingers to do it, to make it sound good. Second thing is that I don't want you to confuse this with more pop style comping, okay? Let's just take a step back. I wasn't ready for that for the big screen yet. I distinguish between jazz style comping and pop style comping. In that jazz style comping, we almost always play chords right at the same time, whereas in pop style comping, we often arpeggiate chords. So jazz style comping, all four notes of the chord coming in at once, whereas pop style comping, we're filling space, we're kind of acting as a drummer a little bit when we're comping in a pop style. None of that when we're comping in jazz, okay? So this is not giving anybody permission to start breaking up your chords and playing one finger at a time. We want to be precise and articulate and percussive with our jazz style comping. All right, now we're ready for the close-up, aren't we? So there's two main places that I'm going to put grace notes, okay? So first of all, our grace notes are going to be a half step below our target note. A half step, doesn't matter what key we're in, doesn't matter what type of chord it is, I'm going to put the grace note a half a step lower than the target note. And that is because grace notes are simulating slides. So on the piano, of course, we can't do a pitch bend. And if we're on a keyboard, we probably shouldn't do a pitch bend because it usually ends up sounding very silly. But we kind of simulate that idea of bending a pitch using a grace note. So first place we could put this is on the very top note of the chord. So I could put a G sharp going into that A. Similarly, a G sharp going into this A. and then an F sharp going into that G. So if we're just listening to the right hand, with both hands, now I want to zoom in and have you watch my hands here. I'm going to have to move down an octave, which isn't going to sound quite right. And the goal here is that the chord should still come in together. We don't want to lose percussiveness. We don't want to lose precision on the chord because we're doing the grace note. We're not going to go and play the grace note with the rest of the chord. The idea is we're still hearing those 4 notes all together. And so what I'm doing is kind of one motion. I'm going to show you here. Brum, brum, brum. And as soon as my third finger comes down in this case, my second finger pops back up. Brum, brum. Drummers refer to this as a flam, when they have one stick kind of going into the drum just before the other one. But you can see I'm making one motion. I'm not going ba-da, ba-da-da. I'm just hitting that second finger on the way down. I think that's hard for some pianists to conceive. How I would probably practice this is actually practice it. If this motion is new to you, I would practice this as one group and then practice just separating off that second finger, which is kind of naturally rebound off of the key. And if you're doing this well, it's not going to be like highly noticeable. I mean, it's going to add some color, but hopefully it's not going to disrupt anything. People aren't going to be like, whoa, you're using a grace note, right? It should be something subtle. All right, so using grace notes on top makes a lot of sense. But I think my favorite place to use grace notes actually isn't on top, but it's on the bottom right-hand note. And it just allows me to be a little bit more subtle. We are kind of listening for that top note as a melody. So here, I know this is sloppily written. This note is an E. So we would use a D sharp going into the E, a C sharp going into the D, and then again a C sharp going into the D. So we're hiding these grace notes a little bit. They're not in the top position. And notice my fingering here. Because I'm moving to black keys, I'm putting my second finger over my thumb, playing the grace note with my second finger. So if you look at that all together, we can add grace notes for almost every chord here. And to me, it doesn't really stick out. It doesn't sound like too much. Of course, you could have a different taste than me, and that's totally okay. I mean, if you want to be wrong. Okay. So the other type, I'm joking, everybody. I'm joking. I'm doing characters now. The other type of ornament that I want to talk about, I call a ghost note. Maybe there's a better name out there for this. But I call it a ghost note because we don't want to actually hear it. And you probably don't hear it if you are not listening. So here we're going to be putting a note into the pinky of the left hand. And this is either going to be the root of the chord for a type A voicing. Type A means the third on bottom. Or it's going to be the fifth for a type B voicing, which means that the seventh is on bottom. So for this D minor, I'm going to be adding a D below the third for the G. So that's the root, right? This is a type A, the third is on bottom. Then we move to a type B, the seventh is on bottom, so I'm going to use the fifth here. That's a D as well. And then I'm going to use the root again here, because this is, again, a type A voicing because it has the third on bottom. And those notes are chosen, the root and the fifth, because they're really convenient to reach with your pinky. You don't have to reach very far. So see if I'm going to zoom in, not that zoom in. I'm going to zoom in here and watch the left-hand pinky. Very subtle, and it's more of like a percussive thing, a sensation effect than a note effect. Now, the important thing about the ghost note is it always goes on the offbeat. We never really want to add more on beats in jazz because we want to be emphasizing the syncopation, right? So it's always before an on beat. So if I'm, for instance, practicing with the Charleston pattern, I'm going to put it right before beat one. Right, that's on the and of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, right. If I'm doing a different pattern, like let's say the reverse Charleston, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1. Now I'm putting it on the and of 2 to lead into beat 3. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. Right? Because I'm finding the offbeat. So when I'm looking to put in this ghost note, I'm thinking about what comp is coming on the downbeat. If there's nothing before it, I'm adding this before it, and this is just going to help that swing feel. Okay? So these ghost notes, they're going to be in the left-hand pinky. That means that you're going to be playing the chords with your 1, 2, and 3, mostly because you want to be able to reach out with your pinky, and your pinky's kind of attached to your fourth finger, so you're probably not going to use your 4 too much. All right, so we can put these together, and I'm going to be doing my grace note in the bottom here. And this is one way to make our comping, or I guess I've given you 2 ways technically, make our comping come to life. What would you add next? I would add side steps and tonicizations, which you can read about in Jazz Piano Fundamentals. And one other kind of fancy thing that you could do is chord inversions, or voicing inversions, to take these 4 notes and maybe as like a neighbor tone, use those same 4 notes but in a different position. That can be another way to ornament that comping without learning something totally new. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed that, you might enjoy the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series, which goes through kind of these basics of comping as well as basics of improvisation, following the form, playing bass lines, lots and lots of stuff. Lots and lots of good stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Check out jeremysiskind.com, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.